Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Fanatic Mindset with me, Kalani Nduli. Today I am having a second conversation with somebody who's soon becoming my Dr. Phil, if you know what I mean. Tony, welcome once again to another episode of The Fanatic Mindset.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah.
I never normally get invited back a second time, so this is a first for me.
Listen, if you are open to it, you're going to become my Dr. Phil, but I need to convince you of that still. You know how Oprah had her Dr. Phil, right?
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about the previous episode with Lunga. Actually, it's not Lunga. So you know Sotus and Xhosas and Sotus and Ngunis pronounced differently. Right. So I'm Sotu, Lunga. I say Lunga almost, but it's actually Lunga Siyo.
Right. Okay, so Lunga, I'm good with that.
You're good.
I'm English. I remember years ago we went to see a guy called Sipho Gumedi.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember Sipho Gumedi. And my family came out from the UK and they saw him, and my brother-in-law afterwards said, "That Sipho Gumedi guy is really good." So
he was definitely English, your brother.
He was. Still is.
Oh man, that's funny. So thank you for joining me. We're going to go through the triple guarantee book again because I can't put it down, as you know, but I also think there's so many lessons in it that apply to a lot of the people that we talk to on the show. So I'm introducing you to Lunga Siyo. Obviously he's not here, but the conversation. And he was my previous guest. Lunga is the CEO of Telkom Consumer and Business. Huge portfolio. And you know, Lunga has really been part of the turnaround that's happened at Telkom. And he talks about it having been a copper company to now primarily being a fiber company. So he's been really instrumental as a leader in the business with that shift. And what was important with having the chat with Lunga was really trying to say, what are the big lessons?
Right.
And I know I shared a bit of Lunga's story with you previously. I think as a starting point, let's talk about, because for me, one of the big things that come out of his story, coaching and mentoring. Right. We did touch on it in the previous episode, but maybe let's go back to the actual definitions and simply put.
Yeah, it's a good point, because people get very confused between them, and I understand that, because actually they bleed into each other. There are overlaps between them, but I suppose the three different disciplines. That mentoring is really finding somebody who has walked the road before you. So they've been there, they've done that. So it's somebody, and they're not necessarily older than you, because sometimes, you move into a position and there's a person who's younger than you who's been in that role. But it's somebody who's actually walked that road before, who can say, interesting, I know where you are, and I've been there, and this is what I did. Now, you may not choose to do what they did, because that was their journey, but at least you go, okay, I understand that. A coach, on the other hand, it's a little bit like it's a professional position, like, a little bit like a psychologist or something like that. The difference between a counselor who just sort of gives you a little bit of advice, and a psychologist who's got a structure behind it. A coach is somebody who typically they should have some sort of training behind that. They should have a structure. There should be questions. And the key thing with a coach is not to tell you what they've done, but to rather ask questions of you so that you can understand your own journey. And so the whole idea with coaching, a little bit like psychology to some extent, is that the answers are within you. I'm here to help you explore them and find out what they are, not to tell you the answer. So coaches typically don't tell you, even if they probably already know the answer, because they've coached so many people. Their job is to keep asking you questions until you get to that self-discovery. A mentor's going to say, hey, listen, that's your problem. These are the answers. This is the way I did it. And that's really the two different. And then we have a business advisor, typically who's somebody who comes in for a specific business problem, and they could be an accountant, or they could be an engineer, or something like that, which is a little bit different.
Right. So, and I mean, for me today, I'd love for us to focus particularly on those people who are looking for tools, who are looking for advice, who are looking for insights on how do I go from being an accounting student who's just graduated into an intern program at a corporate to one day becoming the CEO. Because I think a lot of the time people get overwhelmed and it almost feels like you must have been so lucky, like there was, you know, your ancestors did magic. It almost seems impossible. So the coaching you define in the book, it's actually a quote from John Whitmore. You say, it says here, coaching is unlocking a person's potential to maximize their own performance. It is helping them to learn rather than teach them.
Right.
And for me, it kind of was like, it was an aha moment, because I remember desperately wanting to be a coach.
Right.
But having a big argument with an ex-friend of mine about, I'm going to be a coach. And, you know, now the clarity that I'm understanding it from this book being, it's quite a structured process.
It is indeed, yeah. And a coach typically, there is definitely structure to it, and there's a process need to go through, and I think the key there is unlocking the potential in people. If you, I always help people when they think about coaches, think about sports. You know, you as business people or in going through life, we don't necessarily think about we need a coach, but if you think about a sports person, you know, great, I don't know, golfer, netball, anything. They've all got coaches. You know, we talk about the Springbok rugby team. There's Coach Rassie Erasmus, and he's one of the best coaches in the world, and so on like that. Why don't we have coaches as people in business? And actually, why don't we have coaches in our marriage?
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah.
So you actually need coaches in sort of all areas of life.
Yeah.
You know, what about, have you got a spiritual coach? Have you got a... So I think the coach is somebody who's structured. And if you think about tennis players or something like that, they have a coach, or a golfer. You know, Tiger Woods' coach wasn't better than Tiger Woods at golf. Otherwise, he would have been number one in the world.
Ooh.
Right? You get it. So, but he had the ability to see Tiger and go, this is where you're going wrong. You know, why don't you swing this way? Because he could see what was right and what was wrong. So he understood the game of golf well enough, and he understood how to play well enough so that he can come alongside somebody who's really great and make them even greater. So they unlock the potential. It's a gift, actually. A good coach is a gift. There are a lot of bad coaches. A lot of guys who just go, I need a job, and you know, I've tried this, I'll do coaching, and they, you know, join some sort of program and they become a coach. And I think that's okay for some levels, but somebody who's really going to unlock your potential is somebody who's genuinely interested in you, and they understand how to actually unlock. So in other words, they get insight into you. And this can be in two ways. Some of it is a natural gift. Some people just, and you've met people like that, they just have that ability to look in you and to be able to encourage and to pull those things out, ask the right questions, and take you to that next level. But that's also a learned skill, you know, much like most other things. You can go and actually study how to be a coach, study what are the right questions, study the things behind it. So I think coaches are really valuable in life, you know, to do all sorts of stuff. Again, just look at someone like a marriage coach. They come and there's two of you, and has the ability to go, here's some tools to help you unpack that. And these tools are available, right? And they know how to do that.
So if you were advising somebody who is looking for a coach, what would you say is the one thing they need to be absolutely it's a no-brainer, it is non-negotiable? What's the one thing, or maybe even two things? I
think the first thing I always say when you're looking at a coach is meet with them, and is there chemistry? Right? So you need to have about a half an hour session with the coach, and if the guy's like, no, we don't do that, we have 5 minutes and then, you know, everything cool, this is my rate card, let's get going. I'm like, okay, again, depends on the level, but you've got to have a chemistry. You've got to be able to connect with a person and go, there's something which goes along here, because again, we've all got different personality types and different temperaments, and we engage with people differently. So I think the first thing is that. Then the second thing I'd look at which is really, and so maybe that's the right brain, that's the emotional side of it. The other side is the logical side is, okay, have you coached somebody like me before? What are your qualifications in doing that? How do I know that you're going to be a good coach?
Yes.
You know, or am I guessing? Are you guessing?
Yes.
You know, are you just practicing on me because this is going to cost me money?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So, am I getting what I think? So, what are your references? Who have you worked with before? Can I phone a few people that you've coached? Right. Because it's not just the money you're going to spend. Actually, that's the cheap side of it. It's actually all the time that you're going to do. So let's say you coach with somebody for a year. They're the wrong coach. Not that you've wasted a year, but you could have been so much further
had
with
you
the
been
right
with the right
coach.
person, right?